very, very good performance, all in all, yeah. Because the game's split into 30-minute quarters, you tend to analyse them individually rather than the game as a whole. I certainly look at it as the game as a whole, and when the game was there to be won, we played some really good footy.
In particular, I guess Sean Higgins and Luke McDonald were right at the forefront of that. How did you see their performances?
I thought they were great, but probably to single them out would be a bit unfair on a few others. I thought there was a really even performance, both across the defensive, midfield and offensive lines. I thought we had some really good performances in there, and we probably got into a position where, not that the leads in modern footy never unassailable, but it's hard when players subconsciously don't feel threatened out there to run up the clock. And I know percentage is important in this game because of the way we set up our competition, but when the game was there to be won, I thought we won it.
What's the most pleasing part? Finding 14 goal kickers, you buried them in the first quarter. What do you walk away and say that's the best bit?
It was good to be able to spread the load. I thought Harris Andrews is in great form. Brownie still contributed as he always does. I've said repeatedly that he finds ways to get involved in the game and to help us, whether it's freeing up space for others, blocking for others. When he moves, the opposition defence tend to follow. So 14 goal kickers was really pleasing. We've just got to make sure those few defenders don't get ahead of themselves.
Does Ben need any more support from the umpires?
It's probably not for me to say, but it's probably the first time I've seen him get a little bit frustrated today because he doesn't ever motion to the umpires, and a couple of times he did today. So we'll go back and have a look at it. But if we think it's going to be an issue going forward, we'll speak to the umpires. But if it's just isolated incidents, we never worry about that.
Pretty nice start for Paul Ahern after such a long wait.
It's just our players were. I really had a feeling running out that the first half didn't surprise me at all because when they left the rooms, the feeling around there were two factors: Indigenous round. So for Paul to make his debut in Indigenous round, and for Jed Anderson, Jai Simpkin as well, the boys were right behind them. But just a bit of a fairy tale, really, for a guy who's had to persist for an incredibly long time, and would have been forgiven for thinking that his time was never going to come. He's worked extremely hard and then come to a new club and had to work into a new system as well. So the boys were right behind him, and I thought, if they're not up for this game, they never will be. Really pleasing game, and he could have been forgiven for thinking I'm top 10 pick, things are just going to roll out for me. No one could have foreseen the first few years of his career unfolding this way, but what a super debut.
Did you have a number of VFL games you wanted him to play? Like, was there a plan in the pre-season, this is the ideal number?
No, not really. There were certain things. I mean, early on we played him off half-back in the VFL just to have the game ahead of him, just to get his confidence up. And then once we moved him into the midfield, it was just basically learning our system and making sure that he'd had enough continuity to suggest that he wasn't at risk of getting hurt, soft tissue type injury. So, but last week he was so dominant in the VFL. It probably at match committee we probably changed our minds after last week that now's the time to get him in.
Is there a sense? I mean, you took the gamble a few years ago to trade him in. Is there like a real sense of validation now that he was so good today, and it's all worthwhile, I guess? Yeah,
I think it's just an opportunistic one. GWS had, a rich list of midfielders who were all playing pretty good footy, and every club's got to manage their salary cap. So it was just one that we thought, well, if we can get him right, and we've got great faith in our medical team that he's got great capability, and to his credit, he's worked really hard to learn our system, which is not as easy as people think, to change clubs and play potentially a completely different style.
How highly did your guys rate him in his draft year?
Yeah, top 10 pick. Yeah. But I think that everyone probably had him there. So, it's pleasing. But I mean, not too many guys. I mean, there have been some pretty good stories now, guys who have come back from multiple knee reconstructions, but I don't think too many have come back from multiple knee reconstructions before playing and then making a debut like that.
Tom Murphy. So what happened with Jared White?
Yeah, Wadey tightened up in his calf just as I got into the box for the start of the game. So I didn't worry too much about the diagnosis. It was just simply that he was out. But talking to Wadey, he just said, look, I know my body. He's had some injuries before. He just said it tightened up to the point where he felt that if he really pushed it, that he'd tear it. So I thought it was a great call to say that I'm not right. And much better doing it 2 minutes before the game than 2 minutes into the game. Unfortunately, we lost Jed soon after. And Jed's just, again, the medical staff told me that they'd keep him warm and try and get him back if we needed him. But again, when you tighten up in your hamstring, particularly with a really dynamic player like Jed, we just decided that we wouldn't use him unless we absolutely had to.
Do you expect him to be available next game?
I can't. Unfortunately, I just can't give you that guesstimate at the moment. But the information I've got is that they were very much on the minor end.
Yes, losing a player so close to the start of the game, did that make it even more pleasing the way you guys just came out? Didn't even affect them. Like they just came out, hit the ground running, and ended the game essentially with quarter time, didn't they?
It never feels like that as a coach. But yeah, the way that we started, the way that we and look, we were a little, it appears probably we kicked 5 or 6 goals to nil in the first quarter. Everything was great. There were some things that we took a bit of time to adjust to with the changes in personnel and structure. But yeah, another sign of maturity, and we've had a few examples of that throughout the year for varying reasons.
What was Murphy's situation at the time? Was he eating a pie in the crowd?
No, we learned from David Hale, I reckon, 8 years ago, eating a pie in the. I still remember it. Haley was eating a pie in the grandstand, and Daniel Wells hurt his calf in the warm-up, and Haley just had to wipe the tomato sauce off his face and get changed, and yeah, I think he kicked too early. But we're players are unbelievably professional now. I mean, we have to remind the 23rd that you've got to warm up, you've got to be part of the team right up until the ball bounces, then you go and get changed. And the Wellesley one was different. I think we had multiple injuries before the game that day. But and Tom came in and played really well. So yeah, really pleased for him. Showed a lot of composure.
What did you make of Mason Wood's game today? Obviously, he's been in the goals, but hasn't had a lot of footy the last fortnight after that really good game back.
Yeah.
I thought today, right from the start, was really involved.
Yeah, I thought he was a spark. He kicked the first goal of the game, and he really he plays such a unique role because we've got multiple options up forward. So it's going to be a rare day where they all rack up big numbers and kick lots of goals. So it's going to be a bit of as long as the team's kicking them, the individuals don't matter. But no, I thought Mace is adding some strings to his bow to make him a more versatile player.
Was it just with the second half? Was it just a hint of disappointment? I mean, they were down to one rotation for a half that you may possibly missed a real good opportunity to boost the percentage at all. Was there any feeling about that? Yeah,
I've never heard a coach talk about percentage. It's always a very dangerous word to use in coaching terms because it insinuates that you focus on the result, not the process. But as I said earlier, I think subconsciously players know that they've got the game in control. I mean, as a coach, you want perfection. You want them to I don't know what we kicked in the first half, but you want them to do that again and restrict the opposition to 3 goals like we did in the first half. So, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but you very rarely play 120 perfect minutes.
7-4, is it time to maybe realign, certainly for supporters, their expectations of the aims for the year?
I reckon you guys would probably do that for us. We don't need to set them. And look, I look at, as a coach, you look at all the things you're trying to do and you see the opportunity, but you also see the risks. And one of the things we're really pleased with today is that Tom Murphy comes in trying circumstances, plays well. Sam Durden came in last week from Jack Door and played well. Ben Mackay's ready to play AFL footy. Paul Ahern comes into our midfield and plays well to add to our midfield depth. And the VFL have had 2 great wins against the Box Hill Hawks and Williamstown the last 2 weeks. So we're working really hard on that depth piece and getting players. Having our own VFL side this year is just so much easier to develop players that can come in and play our style. And Paul Ahern and Tom Murphy were examples of that this week, and Sam Durden last week.
Another really big test next week down at Geelong. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's I haven't had a good chance to analyse the game against the Gold Coast, but they were obviously very good in that game. And we don't have to remind the players the capability they've got both as a team and their individuals running through the midfield in particular. So it's a huge challenge, but we're looking forward to it.
You get number 2 for defence and number 1 for offensive ball movement. How do you describe your brand? What do you see as your hallmarks?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to sort of. I mean, we do talk internally a fair bit about what our brand is, but it sounds cliche, but ultimately you've got to win the ball first, and we don't want to be a team that's just trying to get it back all the time off the opposition. And if you just focus on defence, that's what you become. A team that's just trying to get it back all the time. And we've always worked really hard on the offensive side of our game, because I think that, again, it's cliche, but you need all phases. You need to be able to win it, and you're not going to win it all the time, so you need to be able to get it back. And then when you get it back, you need to be able to punish the opposition. And I thought the first half showed all of those things.
Can I just quickly spend Sam Wright, a month or so back, and he had his challenges obviously over the last 2 seasons. I think you may have alluded to him as one of those defenders that got forward and kicked those goals. But how's he added to the team?
Yeah, he's a really popular guy in our team, and today's the first chance that we've had to play 3 guys who have missed 2 years of footy. Ahern, Wright, Jacobs, and all significant contributors for us. So Sam's just done a power of work to try and get back, and again, he could have been forgiven for thinking he was never going to get back. It was just setback after setback, and that's why when he kicked one of the goals in the goal square in particular, you can see the players' reaction to it, because they acknowledge the hard work that he's done to get here.